This is Metal Mike, and in this episode we bring back the guest from my very first episode, legendary glam guitarist Jay Pepper from Tigertailz. In this 2-year anniversary episode, we find out what's up with Tigertailz for new music and their future. We also talk Jay's influences and the music industry in general. Make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube and consider being a paid subscriber through my podcast carrier, Anchor. Now here's Jay. Check it out. Jay, welcome back to the 80's Glam Metalcast. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey, Mike, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm doing okay, thanks. A bit cold here, but doing all right.
Yeah, it's getting cold here in New York as well. Well, I got to ask you, man, I don't know about you, but I can't believe that it was 2 years ago when we first spoke. It's always going to be special to me because you were the first episode of the 80's Glam Metalcast, man. Hasn't time went by fast?
Wow, that is unbelievable, isn't it? 2 years. Goodness me, I can't believe it. Seems like 6 months, you know?
I know. And what the craziest thing is that COVID hadn't really happened yet. So it's like, wouldn't it be nice to go back to that world without COVID in it?
Oh, yeah. But things have changed, considerably.
Yeah. How's things going where you are with COVID?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, I think everyone's getting used to living with it, and now we're kind of just getting on with it. Things are getting a bit more like normal, I guess. You know, we're able to do things probably much the same as you are, you know, going out and about. But there's certain constraints, you know, you still have to follow. So, but yeah, I guess the thing that's probably been affected the most is travel. You know, any international travel, even within Europe, is still a bit of a pain. So people aren't tending to do that. But my daughter's, funny enough, going to the US in the next couple of weeks, so for Christmas. So, yeah, things are getting there, you know.
Yeah, you know, it's like I said, it's gotten better since when it started, but it feels like we kind of go to like these peaks and valleys. You know, it went down in the summertime, and then it comes kind of back up again around the winter time. So yeah, it's just probably something we're going to be dealing with for quite a few years.
Oh, for sure. I think it's just a case of living with it now and just getting used to this sort of thing. It's not going away.
It's funny, you know, hopefully I've gotten a lot better at podcasting since when I first talked to you. One notable thing that I want to say to the listeners is I really had no clue what I was doing the first time. I record this on a separate phone with microphones. So every time my screen went black, I thought maybe the recording would end, and I didn't want that to happen. So I would keep tapping on the screen. And in turn, what happened was that tapping made a sound that you could hear during the interview. So yours is the only interview that I put a backing music track throughout it, so it kind of distracted you from these, you know, sounds of me clicking on the phone. But so that's what makes your interview a little bit different, because you have like a backing music track. And for anybody who listens to that one, and I'll put a link into this this new episode. Yeah, that's why I did it, because like I said, I was a little bit green. I didn't know what I was doing.
It's okay, man. You all learn stuff as we go along.
So when we last talked, you had talked about you had some things going on with your hearing. How is that situation right now?
Well, yeah, my hearing's still, you know, degraded considerably over the last few years. The last 3 years, yeah, quite a lot. And you know, the advice I had from the audiologist was you need to, you know, not be exposing yourself now to, you know, it's really going to make it worse, because it's not like with hearing, it's not like things like your eyesight that could be corrected, you know. They come on leaps and bounds in certain things, certainly with eye correction surgery and that, but hearing, once those tiny, you know, minuscule sensors are gone, ears, they die off, and they don't come back, you know, and there's not a great deal you can do about it. So they said that, you know, it's just going to get worse. So initially I backed off completely, you know, did nothing. And then I thought, well, this is crazy. I can't, you know, just something is, you know, I like listening to music or anything. I've got to do something with it. So anyway, cut a long story short, I try and minimize the, you know, the volume I'm at. But, you know, with the music we like, it doesn't sound so good when it's quiet.
Right.
But what I did from a playing point of view was basically get in-ear monitors, like you probably see a lot of musicians using anyway.
Yep.
I've never been a fan because it kind of takes away the gig from me. You know, you're in like your own isolation booth, if you know what I mean. You know, there's a lot of negatives if you're into rock music, particularly if you want to feel the gig. And I'm old school. I like that big, you know, backline amps and cabs, and you know, that's the kind of gear I've always used, and I like that power sound on stage. So to lose that it has been a a bit of a challenge, but I'm getting used to it, and I got to say, you know, it does have a lot of benefits. So you can hear everything, you know, any mix you want, and also your own voice and things. So it's pros and cons, and I've just got used to living with it. So it enables me to be able to go out and play and not do too much damage to my ears, so you know, any more damage, I guess. But yeah, I am, you know, suffering from really bad tinnitus as well, which doesn't really go away at all. It's not like intermittent, so it's a huge problem. I mean, musicians, I can't believe we're so naive and blasé about it. We should have been taking care of our ears from the word go, but most people never do. And you know, the older you get, and I'm pushing 60 now, it takes its toll, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm trying to work around it in the best way I can, and that those in-ears are kind of doing it for me at the moment. That doesn't enable me to, you know, carry on, if you like.
And you guys did a show, like a festival show, a couple months back, right?
We've done two, yeah. I mean, we did the first one, we opened up for COVID, the Hard Rock. They're basically, like, Hard Rock Hell is like a franchise over here in Europe. They run festivals kind of all over the place, different theme things, but we've done two of those in the last 3 months. The first one was in Sheffield, here in the north of the UK. That was, well, both were really great. That was in August, I think. First time that venue had opened up, the O2, in like 2 years. So that, you know, we were the first gig there, or that festival was, and it was a really tough day, you know, really tough. It was very fractious, and I honestly thought the gig was going to, you know, be the worst gig ever. But as it turned out, the exact opposite effect. It was literally the roof came off. You know, it was quite amazing how that all turned around. People were just so desperate to be in that environment again. It was one of those great, you know, fantastic gigs we've done in a very long time. And then a few weeks ago we did the same kind of thing, but over in a different part of the UK, over on the East Coast. Yeah, again, Hard Rock Hell. That was the one in August, more like they got a Hard Rock Hell Sleeves. That was more of a, you know, those sort of genre bands. The main Hard Rock Hell Festival was just more, you know, generally middle of the road sort of rock bands, but that was great as well. So we've had two, you know, banging gigs over the last few months. Yeah, really, really good.
How's Rob doing? Are you keeping him in line? Because him and I have become buddies. So if you need me to talk to him, I can say something to him. Is he being good?
Rob? Yeah, Rob. Yeah, he's great. Yeah, I mean, you know, that the band just kind of works as it is. You know, we've been around a long time. We've got various members in, and yeah, everybody's great. They turn up, and you know, the band functions because people, you know what they need to do. They turn up where they need to be, and everybody knows how to do their job. You know, you're not worrying what people are, or people being a pain. So yeah, Rob's great. You know, he's got his own thing going on with Midnight City. But yeah, you know, with the Tail stuff, when we get together and play on stage, you know, we create some sort of magic sometimes. So it just all works at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, him and I think I'm exactly about a year older than him. So him and I have a lot in common. So we talk quite a bit online, and we've done a couple podcasts, and I think we're going to do another one. We like to compare, you know, lists of hair metal albums and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, he's super cool.
Oh, he's right into all that hair metal stuff. Yeah, you know, it's too lame for me and all that stuff. Yeah, we do have a bit of a chuckle about that because he's into some yeah. It's, you know, I like a lot of that music, but it's he's on another level of cheesiness, you know.
Yeah, it's all good. What's been going on with new music? Have you kicking around any ideas?
Well, it's a kind of topical question at the moment. For as great as we are with the band Tigertailz when we play, and it's, you know, it is great. It takes a lot to get us motivated, you know, mobile, I guess, and we all live in different parts of the country, you know, like a lot of bands do. And, you know, we even have people living in different parts of the world, and we still manage to make it function. But I think I've started writing. I'm actually in the studio at the moment. I'm writing and recording new stuff, but I've kind of, I don't know. I don't know where to go with the Tigertailz stuff. You know, it kind of constrains you into like a footprint where you can't go off the rail track. You know, you've got to stay in you know, it's got to sound a certain way. People expect certain things, and I also think that as soon as we put something out, you know, people are just like, oh, well, it's like another album off them, you know, and so I'm at the moment kind of toying with the idea of doing it like a solo project. I'm writing stuff at the moment. I've been in the studio this last week, and it's, you know, everything's sounding great, but using, you know, very much more like kind of classic rock. I've kind of, whereas most people are looking for new music, I've gone in reverse, and I'm listen to older stuff. And I'm just enjoying using new instruments, stuff I haven't done before, and sounds, and I'm kind of digging that, and by doing something outside of Tigertailz, I'm kind of quite enjoying the freedom of it all, I guess. So I don't know. I'm writing, I'm recording, where that ends up and how it gets released, if it gets released and how it's released, I don't know yet. I've not made any fast decisions, but my general feeling is at the moment, doing another Tigertailz album, doesn't excite me, if you know what I mean. So I don't know. I basically I get a collection of work together and decide what to do with it. Right now, I'm just enjoying doing that. So I'll see where it takes me, and I just don't need more of that at the moment.
When you talk about going back and you're listening to old stuff, how far back are you going? What kind of era of classic rock are you talking?
Well, I don't know if we hit on this before. I mean, Tigertailz got defined by, we were like one of those bands that people shouldn't be together. Me and Pepsi, and, at the time, whether it was Stevie or Ace or, King, that, where we were the kind of, the main kind of successful period, I suppose you could say, of the band. We were all into different things, and my personal history was like, real like classic rock stuff, I was never really into the hair metal stuff. I did like the British glam scene back in the day, that's where I started, was like Slade and Sweet, and Status Quo has always been my band. But I'm really into like the Faces, and I've been listening to more recent bands that I kind of, when we got around, when we were doing stuff, growing up and writing songs and doing our own band, we thought the Dinosaurs band was like, the Faces, Bad Company, Not the Hooper, and I've been listening a lot more to that kind of stuff, and listening to how great those bands were, just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the Faces, just probably one of the greatest bands that ever existed in my view, but also Bad Company and stuff like that, and I'm just really digging that kind of classic sort of Paul Rodgers sound, and people like Steve Marriott, and all those guys, and I just think they're so awesome, and I'm really digging that, and not... I don't like other stuff, I still listen to Rat and, these sorts of things, but I just really dig that kind of classic rock era, and I missed a lot of it by being into, what the tide had turned. They were seen as the dinosaurs then, and you were frowned upon, bands like Free and that sort of thing, but you listen to them now, and I think they're just awesome, those guitar sounds, the way most of the vocalists, like Paul Rodgers, incredible, Steve Marriott, incredible. And I'm just digging all that, and Rod Stewart and the Faces, I mean, it's just as good as it gets for me. So, yeah, I'm kind of enjoying that stuff, really. I don't really listen to any music at all if something occasionally catches me, but, yeah, I'm just reliving the past, I suppose, and I think if something's great, it's great forever, and that music is just legendary, and there's no reason why people can't create music like that now, I think. That's kind of where I'm at the moment.
Yeah, and I totally know what you're saying, because it sounds like that's the music that you grew up on, and that's kind of the same thing with me. That's why I gravitate to, Tigertailz and all the glam bands, because that was like the first music I really got into, and same thing with me. I listen to it today, it still sounds good, it still sounds fresh. It really doesn't sound dated, so, I understand where you're coming from.
Oh, man, for sure. Yeah, I mean, and this is the thing, it doesn't matter, when music touches you, or a band touches you at a certain time in your life, I mean, this is the great thing about music, isn't it? It kind of, it leaves like an embedded footprint on that part of your life, and like regardless of however big bands are or become, commercial success has never had anything to do with it for me. I've been with the bands that people wouldn't even mostly never heard of, I was into Y&T before anybody ever heard of them over here, and I still am, and then they're another classic rock band, I think, it's just awesome, but I just feel that for me, and I'm probably, as you say, Rob says, I'm probably a bit older than that, and what touched me was, like I say, Slade, Free, just all those kind of classic rock bands. I mean, AC/DC, one of my bands, but I'm talking, people who really jump like onto Back in Black. Not for me. I mean, not that you can't take any away. Back in Black is just an absolutely phenomenal album, no doubt about it. But nope, not for me. Everything before that is AC/DC as far as I'm concerned. Power Age is probably the greatest album ever recorded. Still put it on today. Listen to, Sin City and those tracks, and Down Payment Blues and Kicked in the Teeth. I mean, Let There Be Rock as an album, just monstrous, everything up to Back in Black. And in terms of you want to pick a band right at their peak, listen to If You Want Blood, You Got It, the live album before, you know, and it was the last thing Bon Scott thing I did after, no, it was Howard Early did, wasn't it? But If You Want Blood, that live album is as good as it gets for that band. That's a band right at their peak. Now, it's everything before Back in Black for me. They were like a blues band and just awesome when they kicked in, incredible. And I just, that's what touched me at the time. I said, well, Status Quo, they're another band, you know, you listen to Core Live. I mean, it's recorded in 1977 at the Glasgow Apollo, monstrous album. Again, a band at their peak. Those albums, or those live albums, just at the time were, I think the bands, they honed their craft and just, it's just so good. Even now, put them on and it's just like, you're there, you're in it, you know. It's, so, it's whatever touched you at the time, and that's where I came from. And I just dig in listening to that stuff and playing it at the moment. So that's the sort of stuff I'm kind of writing, you know what I mean? So it doesn't fit as a Tigertailz, some of the tracks I'm doing. So whether they'll end up being that, I don't know. But at the moment, I'm just digging that.
Awesome. So you kind of talked about the idea that maybe like a new album doesn't excite you. Where do you see Tigertailz going as a band in the future? Do you just want to go for the next couple years and just do some spotty gigs, or is there like an end in sight where you'd say, hey, maybe we'll do like a big farewell and it's over? What do you see as the future?
Well, I just don't know. I mean, the thing is, when you've been around as long as this, you know, and the difference is for us, and this is probably a big difference, I think, to a lot of the bands in that genre are still going around, you know. The difference is for us is that it's not our living. I don't need to do Tigertailz to earn a living, you know, and I haven't done it in 20-odd years. We do it for the right reasons because we want to do it and go out there and enjoy it, you know. And another plus factor to that is that for me, every time you go on stage, you've got to mean it. You know, you've got to want to be there and mean it. And when something becomes a job, like it does for most of those bands in that genre, we get them over here all the time, and I'm sure you've seen them, you know, particularly the hair metal bands from the day, the Sunset Strip bands, they come over and they'll maybe flip the singers, you know, they're talking different bands, you know, but they'll flip the singers. It's almost like a job, and then the moment that turns into it, it just, the fun's sucked out of it, you know, it's just like they don't want to be there, you know, and you could just tell, and I never wanted to end up like that. So I don't know where we go with it. I don't need to do it from a living point of view. Somebody give me a reason to do it. And for me, the reason to do it is playing the right kind of gigs with the right kind of peers. And the first question I always ask with festivals, who's on it? You know, who are we playing with? Because if there's somebody on that festival I dig, that's what I want to be. You know, I want to chat to those guys, and just have a beer with them, and just be associated with the right kind of bands. And it's got to float me, and nothing at the moment particularly is floating me in doing anything. And as far as like a farewell thing, I mean, to be honest, does anyone give a shit? You know what I mean? It's not like some sudden, you know, Harry Goldsmith is going to take over and say, here's a world tour, you know, end the tour with Bon Jovi or something. It'll be going around, you know, slogging your guts out playing clubs. And the band doesn't work in that environment. You know, the band works in front of thousands of people on big stages. That's where it works. The magic is really created then when there's thousands of people in front of it singing the songs. It's never been one for like a club type band. It isn't that. It's a big sound, and it works on big stages. So if somebody offers us the right gig, I'll do it. But if they don't, they don't. And the same with new music. If somebody wants to show me a reason to, you know, a record company, someone's going to promote something, because that's the other thing with this stuff. You know, we go on about recording and all that stuff, the internet, about things being easier. Yeah, you can record fairly cheaply and you can put your music out fairly easily and release it, but it disappears without a trace. And the reason is for that is because there's no promotion around it. What the record companies, whilst they all were a bunch of sharks for the most part, is they had the backbone and the backup resources to promote it, you know, and you don't get that anymore. So, like you say, a new album, well, who's going to promote it? Who's going to spend tens of thousands on promoting it? And they're just not there. So if somebody wants to do that, then give me a reason to do it, I'll do it. But if they're not going to do it, I can't see the reason to do it. The same with like a farewell tour. Like, give me a reason to do something, and nobody, you know, unless something comes up, then I don't see anything happening. It'll just what usually happens is every now and again somebody comes to us and say, would you do this? You know, and I think, yeah, that's okay. You know, like the bands are on that bill, I want to do that. But it's few and far between, I have to say, right now.
when we talked before, we talked about some of the classic albums in depth, and like I said, people can go back to that interview. But let's talk about the songwriting on some of those classic albums. How did all the songwriting shake out, and is a lot of that accurate? What's listed on those albums? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, I think after you did mine, you did one with Stevie, I think, and there's always a bit of beef about who wrote this, who wrote that on the Young and Crazy stuff. I mean, the simple fact is, on that Young and Crazy album, if you take it as 100%, the one song that was written 100% by Pepsi was She's Too Hot. Take that song out of it. Every other song on that record was written by me and Stevie. It's been published forever with the various publishing companies, and we get, the royalty split is 50-50. It has been since 1987, since that album was released. No one's ever contested that. And the reason is because that's the truth. I wrote all the music on there, every single guitar riff and every riff that's on there I wrote, apart from She's Too Hot, which was Pepsi, like I said. Everything else I wrote. I can tell you where I got most of those riffs from. Living Without You and Falling Love Again. Like I said, I was into Y&T and stuff, and it's those chord progressions are kind of offering to change, in different ways, backwards and slightly played differently. I was into kind of lots of other, like Cat Stevens, and some of those riffs, just a little twiddles here and there, off Matthew and so. I know where they all came from. And Steve didn't write any of the music on it. I wrote all of that. What he did write was pretty much all the lyrics. I think most of the melodies on it. So from a writing credit, it's 50-50, which it's always been. But, you get this, he comes out and says, I wrote everything. Well, no, he didn't. Actually, it was an equal partnership. That's how those songs are written. So that's the fact of all that. And people, they get, they jump on words and they choose that people have said this, said that. They don't know the situation. They don't know these people. But those are the facts, He and I wrote that album, apart from She's Too Hot, 50-50 split. I wrote all the music, he wrote all the melodies and lyrics, as far as I can remember. So that's that. And Berserk, pretty much mostly me and Pepsi. I think Kim wrote bits here and there on, I think it was Tristan Shake was his song originally. I think for the most part, that was mostly me and Pepsi, but we split the writing credits across the four of us, which was a huge mistake, to be honest. Just to save grief on people getting royalties. But what that means is that, people get, royalties for stuff they've never written anything on, not any contribution whatsoever. And my experience of being in this band is that people who generally contribute the least are the biggest problem in the band. That's the frustration. So, it really gets my back up when, people are banging on about this and banging on about their ex-members when they actually contributed, next to nothing. So, those are the facts, really. Now these days, whoever writes the song gets credited on it. So, it's a fair way of doing it, but it does really get my back up when people are kicking around all this nonsense about they wrote this, wrote that. But those are the facts of it. Just so people can take out what they want, really.
Have you been watching any of that Beatles Get Back?
Oh, Beatles! Well, no, I haven't seen that yet. No, I will watch it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Well, what's funny because you're bringing up, you gotta watch it. It just shows them creating the Let It Be songs and everything. But the thing that stands out to me is from what you were just saying is that, okay, so all the songs that John Lennon and McCartney write individually or together or whatever, it always says Lennon and McCartney. But as you're watching that documentary, it's pretty interesting because Paul creates Get Back right in the studio all by himself, and all of a sudden it's Lennon and McCartney, and then Lennon comes in with Across the Universe. It's completely finished. They always put everything Lennon and McCartney, but it makes an interesting point. Like you said, you put all four guys on it, but not everybody did anything. And even with them, I don't know why at a certain point they didn't change it and just say, this song is Lennon, this song is McCartney, because you can tell, at least toward the end, neither guy had anything to do with each other's songs. It's pretty crazy.
Oh man, this goes on all the time. It'll be down to how if they got individual managers and what's been agreed, legally. It can get very messy. And you're talking, if you want to get into that stuff, you look around some of the biggest stars when they do other solo projects. And I won't mention any names, but they can start up another band or do the project, and basically another band's written all those songs, but when it goes in, so-and-so wrote this, He wrote and recorded all this. Well, no, he didn't actually. It's this band who written all those songs, but they're not credited on it because they ain't big enough news,
Yeah. I always wonder that. I mean, once again, this is completely off the cuff, but like Vince Neil, he never wrote a lick really in Motley Crue. I don't think he wrote anything. And then as soon as he did his solo album, he always had a credit, but there was a bunch of other writers. I always wondered, did he ever really write anything, or was his name just thrown on there? So it's kind of like what you just said. So I wonder.
Oh yeah. Basically, if they, people want to use your songs, if some, big artist, their management company comes in and says they want to use those songs for, this project, and the deal is that they at least get a credit on it, and sometimes they get a credit with 100% of it, otherwise they don't do it. Of course, the band who are pretty much probably unknown think, well, yeah, it's better to have that than nothing. So they suck it up. Yeah, it's a shit industry, Mike, I tell you. And then for all the benefits of change and digital age and all that internet, it hasn't changed with all the behind the scenes. It's still the shittest industry. It's so much is unregulated. You don't get paid on time. These associations, these bodies, PPL, PRS, MCPS, the bloody sound machines, all these things, they're all just like, it's shoddy. It wouldn't exist in any other world. You can't rely on getting money from these organizations in a timely manner. You've got no way of checking the reporting, Whereas if you, and also somebody can put out your work, and they do all the time, you look at the internet and there's your songs are all over the place, you never see any royalties from it. People can release your albums, they do it, and you have no call back on it, to try and, you can't even find who these people are. They've released stuff, they did it with us, like a crazy album, some label I never even heard of. Released some deluxe package, don't even know what they are. Crescendo Records or something. Never heard of them. Never signed anything. Never seen a penny from it. No royalties. They do it. Get away with it. But if you were making, if you're an inventor of a car, you created something and built it and sold it. There's all sorts of protections around that from a patent point of view or patent, but just the way it's sold and how it's regulated and all that. But not this industry, and if somebody nicks your idea, you can sue them. You try and do that here. It's as bad as it ever was, and I kind of feel for the younger artists coming up, trying to make a living out of it, because they've lost all that, what we had, at least back then, was we had the physical product that sold, they don't even have that now. It's basically a non-business, when you look at everything coming from streaming, the only way they've got really of making any money is playing live shows and selling merch. And I say this to people all the time. I genuinely think the music industry really is a non-business. If you look at what businesses are, you make something, you create something, you make it, you manufacture it, and then you sell it for more money than it costs you to make it. That's what you do. That's what business is. You can't do that in the music industry. Mm-hmm. You make something, it costs you a lot of money to put it, you stick it out there, and people have it for free. That's what happens. That's not a business, And the royalties you get from these streaming agencies are like 0.001, we all get them. We get, 50 pages of, these streams, tens of thousands of downloads of streams, and, the check at the end is like £30 or like $50 or something, It's just bullshit. And whereas if you were selling those physical units, such as CDs or vinyls, that would be worth hundreds of thousands of pounds or dollars, but it isn't anymore. The only way you make money is going out playing live and selling merch to the people there and online and stuff. But so how bands make a living out of it, it's really, really tough now. It was never easy, but it's like super tough now.
It's funny because recently, like, if you subscribe to Spotify, right? Let's say you're part of Spotify. They just sent everybody an email that told them what they listened to the most for the year, So a lot of people, I did it myself, were posting online. They were showing the list to the different bands. Oh, hey, I listened to this band the most, this song the most. And I think it was Mike Portnoy from, who was it once in Dream Theater. He came out there and he said, oh, it's nice to see that we're on these lists, but screw Spotify, because they're getting all the money. I think that guy made like $3.8 billion or something like that. And then, like you said, the artists get nothing. So it's like, it's fun, for us as listeners. Yeah, it's easy. I'm sitting on my couch. I can listen to any album and any song anytime I want on Spotify. But that guy that runs it, that owns it, he's getting rich. But like I said, you guys are getting nothing. And I guess when he sent out that tweet out there, it really was an eye opener, because it reminded me, I was like, wow, this is really screwed up.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happens. Yeah, and it's Spotify is probably the most prominent one, but it's all those platforms. YouTube being another one. Your music's thrown out there. You could tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of hits and plays, and you get zero from it. I mean, it's change. It's nothing. And yeah, all those streaming platforms, whatever people are using, Apple Pay, all of them, it's like 0.001%. It's nothing. And like I said, you get the stream, you get the statements through and publishing and stuff, and it's just bonkers, because if those were physical units you were shipping every 6 months, it would be worth a significant amount of money, and that would make it a business. But as it stands, like I keep saying, it isn't business. If you've got 4 or 5 guys in a band, I don't know what the minimum wage is out there in the States, but over here, something like, I don't know, 25,000, 30,000 pounds. Mm-hmm. You've got 4 or 5 guys in the band, that's 100,000, 150,000 a year, just to pay people the minimum wage, right?
Right.
You add on top of that all the expenses of a band to go out, whether you're making product or staying in hotels, playing shows, that is serious money. To even pay people the minimum wage in a band these days is I don't know, people do it, and they ain't doing it, they aren't doing it, and therefore, like most bands don't survive. They put in a few years, and the other thing is, and we all kind of do it and did it, is people may have a big profile on social media, and they can have these 60 billion thousand friends or listeners and subscribers, but those people aren't buying their music, and even if they are subscribing on Spotify, the band isn't getting it, It's disgraceful, and this is where I come back to the same point. Nothing's changed. The media and the way you listen to music has changed from a fan's point of view, but from an artist's point of view, you're still 100% utterly shafted.
Right.
Like I say, you go back to the fundamentals of what business is. You create something, you make something, it costs you an amount of money, you sell it, and you sell it for a profit. It doesn't exist in the music business. You've got your A-listers, your Green Days and your Lady Gagas and U2s at the top of the tree, but the rest of it, forget it. You basically, people take your music, they play it for nothing, they do whatever they like with it, they can release it for nothing, they can use it on any platform. Yes, they're supposed to be, they give it lip service, there's all these laws and rules in place to stop it happening, but no one gives a shit. It's out there, it's all over the place, and it's just like almost like deemed as worthless. And that wouldn't be the same if it was in any other walk of life. If you were making any other product, it would be protected. But music is not seen to be like that. It seems almost like, you can do it and just get away with it, and people do every single day, and the internet is filled with it. You never see a penny of it. And like I said, I come back to the same thing. It makes it, for me, a non-business. That isn't what business is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
you have to do it now for the love of it. That's where I'm at. You do it because you want to do it, because you enjoy it, and I come back to what I said earlier about playing tours. I do stuff because I want to do it. If I like the band's on the bill or like the gig, I'll do the gig, If I don't, I won't be doing it. It's about enjoying it and doing it for your own reasons.
What do you do for a living outside of music? Do you have a business that you're involved with?
Yeah, I do technology consultancy, so that's kind of my day job, if you like. That sort of, pays the bills, if you like. There's just the music side of it is not there's not enough income. And then, like I said, go back to me, I wouldn't do it anyway. I want to believe in what I'm doing, and then you've got to mean it. So playing music, going out every day, gigging, that sort of thing, it's not for me. I think that once it becomes a job like that, like we did it before, it kind of it sucks the fun out of it. It doesn't become. It becomes a job, and by definition, something you have to go to work to do. You tend to not enjoy doing, and I never wanted to be in that position. When we came back around, was one of the first things me and Pepsi said to each other. We both completely agreed. I'm not doing that again.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't become the centre of our universe again. It becomes something we want to do, and when we do it when we want to do it, and we're not dictated to by other people telling us to do things. And for the last 12 or 15 years, it's been cool. We've done some amazing things, and it's worked really well. We generally fly into festivals. On a Friday we do the gig, play with some great bands, and fly back out and get on with our own thing, and just move away from it again. But when we do it, we do it for all the right reasons and believe in what we're doing.
Jay, so glad I got to talk with you again, man. Like I said, you're always going to be #1. First episode of the 80's Glam Metalcast. Here we are, 2 years later, still going strong. Anything you want to say to your fans out there?
It's great, man. Mike, I really appreciate it for having me on again. And, for being the first one. But to all the fans out there, what can I say? Every time we play, it's the same thing. And people are still into our music all these years later. I can't thank them enough. Really, really appreciate it. And and we get new fans on all the time. Every time we play festivals and things now, you always get people who say, I've never liked your band, but I got to say you're amazing. So everybody who's with us and all the new people who've come on board since, thank you so much. It's great. It keeps me doing it. It makes me want to do it, and they're the reason I do it. If they ain't there, there's no band as far as I'm concerned. So really, thank you to everyone.
Really appreciate your time.
Great stuff, Mike. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, Jay. Take care.
All the best. Cheers, mate. Bye. Bye.
Well, that was a pleasure chatting with Jay again. I'm 2 years in, and there's tons more episodes to come. Rock on!